This episode, we are going to focus on Boxing Head Podcast, 3 Commandments of Boxing. And this is going to be very important.
If you taking jabs in life, you ain't got a puncher's chance. Watch me lay these hands like a preacher gained a bunch of fans. Ain't about who the favorite, who the best, they a bunch of stands. Know I'm highly favored cause these fists got me out many jams. They say fight the power, but I got power to fight now. Know we gon' be barking at the way and tell them pipe down. Jab, right hook, uppercut, you see the light now. Now the crowd begging for the KO like right now. Never took a L with my chin up, fold them like a sit-up. This trainer going pops, Craig, get up. Never took a L with my chin up, fold them like a sit-up. This trainer going pops, Craig, get up.
Welcome to the Boxing Head Podcast. We finally here. We are finally here, episode 1. And I'm glad you're tuned in because we are going to have fun. This is going to be a fun podcast. You're going to learn about boxing. If you don't know nothing about boxing, trust me, after you're dealing with us, you'll know everything about boxing. So a little bit about us. So this is more like, I can say it could be a pledge. So one thing that we want to do is we want to go ahead and get this pledge out the way right now. You don't have to put your hand like this. We can just go about this. Boxing Heads promise to stay true to boxing, which means you'll hear nothing but boxing. So you won't hear about a fighter or his girlfriend or anything getting a BBL. We don't do that. We talk strictly boxing. One thing we will do as well, we'll stay unbiased. And staying unbiased just gives the viewers, you guys, just an open mind to every type of like angle or any type of story or any type of situation that happens within boxing. So now that we got that, without further ado, let's start this off. So this episode, I want to really focus on bringing everybody in back to boxing, because you have some people who are into boxing, you have some people who are just watching it, then you have people who don't know about boxing at all, and you may be tuned in right now. So this is something that we are going to do this episode. And this episode, we are going to focus on Boxing Head Podcast, 3 Commandments of Boxing. And this is going to be very important to always follow this guideline. If you're, new to boxing, or if you've been watching boxing for a while, or you've been in and out. So say like it's a popular fight, you may go to the bar, get the fight, or go to a fight party. This is something to always follow by. And I'll give you different examples just so you can see the perspective of why these are the commandments. So the first commandment that we have is never get emotionally attached to a fighter. Never, because this will take you out of the boxing realm. It'll take your love away. It'll take everything away. I'll give you an example. So a lot of you know that the biggest fight happened last year in July. Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford. Like, this was the biggest fight ever. Like, we was talking about this fight for years. Like, I was talking so much crap. Like, I told people, like, the ambulance going to have to be on the side of the ring for Terrence Crawford. It's going to be a short night. He going to be drinking chicken broth for like a whole month. I said anything you can imagine. And throughout boxing, I watched all the Spence's fights. Like, Errol Spence is my favorite fighter. Errol Spence is the reason why I'm actually into boxing like I am right now. So I was riding with my guy. So when the fight finally came and the fight finally happened, I'm still talking junk. So this is the actual day of the fight. And it was weird, y'all. It was weird. Just hear me out. I woke up in the morning, felt good, I got Boxing Heads has an actual group. We'll tell you about that a little bit later. But Boxing Head, we have a group where there's a lot of people in this group and we just talk about boxing. And that morning I woke up, I said, it's Judgment Day. I kept saying that, it's Judgment Day, it's Judgment Day, it's Judgment Day. So it was weird. So I went to the gym. It was cold outside for it to be July. It was real cold. And I was like, it was just something in the air that was just telling me, like, something's not right. So I ended up getting food. I ordered the fight. Like, and when I mean food, like I had like a 5-piece like fish dinner, fries, everything. And I was about to eat. And then that second round happened and he got knocked down. And it took my appetite away. Like, all my food just sat there. And then I'm looking at the rounds, and he just getting like destroyed. I'm like, what's going on? So now it goes from, man, all right, that was just a slip in the second round to, all right, what's going on? Because he was just getting destroyed. And I say by the 7th round, I stopped watching the fight, and I went to bed. I didn't watch the whole fight. I went to bed. My phone was blowing up. I went to bed, and I woke up that next day like I was messed up. Like I didn't know how I was gonna recover from all the junk I was talking. And then I didn't know like what would be next for me because I was too emotionally invested into one fighter to the point it almost took my love for boxing away. But in the sport of boxing, it's always going to be scenarios. There's always going to be stories. There's always going to be, a change of events. So keep this in mind. You can have your favorite fighter, but just remember, do not get emotionally attached to your fighter. If you do, it could just ruin everything for you. It can ruin your whole day. Like, you don't want to eat or anything like that. So, first commandment, do not get emotionally attached to a fighter. So, that was easy, right? That wasn't too bad. It's easy not to get emotionally attached to anything. So, the second one is very important because we have the Floyd Mayweather era that happened. Floyd was 50-0, and let me tell you one thing. Floyd is a special fighter, so keep that in mind. I want to let you guys know that Floyd is very special in that ring. And 50-0 is a great record to have. And right now, our second commandment is going to be losing the zero. And losing the zero in boxing, it is okay to lose your zero in boxing. You have so many great fighters. Muhammad Ali, you got Shane Mosley. Shane Mosley fought everybody just about, and it's okay to lose. It's okay to have an L in boxing. The problem is social media is the big problem on why fighters are afraid to lose their O. So you have social media, you got people that's making memes. So fighters are not scared to fight each other and lose their O. They're afraid of the outcome. And the outcome is, they're going to make a meme of me. I'm going to have 1,000 casual fans. I'm going to have people making accounts that's not even on any other platforms. They just want to make one just to make fun of the fighter. And what it does, it gives that fighter a little bit of, unreadiness or uneasiness, because you got to think of it like this. These fighters have been fighting since they were some of them since kids. So no fighter is afraid to fight a fighter. So it's kind of like, for example, it's kind of like you have some work you got to do. Say like you do yard work. And someone says, hey, yeah, I want you to climb up this tree and cut these branches off. Yeah, you've been there before. You've been doing this. You've been doing landscape your whole life. But you want to know how much it costs. And that's initially where it comes to. So, but back to losing the zero, it's very important not to judge a fighter about losing the zero, because it takes a lot away from boxing. And with social media and everything that's going on, it's real hard for fighters to try to just go out there and just fight and just be great and not worried about the outcome of everything. So if you're a boxing fan, if you're new to boxing, you want to learn a little bit, just remember this. Just because a fighter does not have an O at the end of his record or her record does not mean that fighter is a bum. Every fighter has their number. Every fighter has their number. Everybody has their number. And just because they lose against another fighter, we should never take away their greatness as a fighter. Just remember that. As a matter of fact, I will give you a perfectly good example of when you lose your O. There was actually a fighter that lost his O recently. And probably know who I'm talking about because it just happened. You have Devin Haney. Devin Haney was 31-0 when he got in the ring with Ryan, and he lost. And the amount of just memes and you had all types of crazy stuff because he had that party with Diddy, and you had memes about Diddy. You just had all types of stuff that to diminish his O. But then we forget how great of a fighter Devin Haney is. And when we lose sight of that. We lose sight of the greatness of a fighter, basing it upon if they lost. I didn't seen people who lost. I ain't seen fighters who only lost 2 fights, and somebody be like, "Oh, he's a bum. He lost 2 fights." No, that's not how boxing works. Everybody has their number, and just think of it like this: in life, any of us are not undefeated. We all have L's, we all have losses, we all have wins and losses, and that's how we should look at it when it comes to boxing. It should never tear you away from having your favorite fighter because he lost, or it should never diminish a fighter because he's lost. So just remember, don't be afraid to let that O go. So the third commandment is a very important commandment, but before we get to that, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor. So spring is gone, the summer is coming, and maybe in the spring you didn't do quite the spring cleaning that you were supposed to do, and summer's coming out and you want to get that old winter odor car smell out of your car. Call Golden Touch Premium Services. They'll get everything clean from you. And not only all products are environmental friendly, which means you don't have a whole bunch of chemical smells in your house or in your car. So go ahead and go to the website and go ahead and set up an appointment and hit up Golden Touch. Clean is just a Golden Touch away. Okay, so the third commandment is no fighter is a bum. No fighter is a bum. And we got to remember, when we talking about boxing is the real deal. Like, these are not just gloves that's made out of pillows and you see it on TV and they get hit. Like, I've been in there before. I'm not a professional fighter, and I tried some sparring, and let me tell you, it looks good on TV. It looks like it don't hurt on TV, but it's like twice as fast in person. And no fighter is a bum, because when you get in that ring, you're between life and death. So anything can happen in that ring. You can get hit wrong. Anything can change, and we don't want to downgrade any fighter that gets in that ring and gives their all, gives their 100% in the fight for our entertainment. So we just got to think about that. Okay, this guy may have like 15 losses and 2 wins, but guess what? That doesn't make him a bum. Let's use words like journeyman. Let's use like, okay, he's a C-level fighter. You can have A level, you can have B level, you can have C level fighters, you can have that. But let's never call them bums, because look, the training is tough. You got to stay healthy. You got to eat certain things. Like, there's a whole lifestyle behind this that fighters have to do. Like, and it's very important that we respect it and we respect them. And I feel like if you have all 3 of these commandments together, I think you'll be just fine. Just remember, and trust me, sometimes I'm a victim too. Sometimes I call a fighter a bum. Like, matter of fact, there was a fight. There was a fight that just happened probably like a few weeks ago. There was a guy. Now, trust me, I know for sure this guy is not a fighter. He probably went in there for like a paycheck. But the only highlight, or the only thing that they showed about him, is that he had 6 kids. And he was in the ring. He had his trunks like almost up to his chest. It looked like he was playing basketball in the ring, because he had Jordans on, and the fight didn't last long. And that was it. But he was just in for a check. But guess what? He's still not a bum. I would call him a journeyman. He just in there just getting the check, fight the next fighter. Because you have certain guys who get in the ring, and you got some guys that fight 5 times a year and they lose all 5, and they just they found a way to make a living. Doesn't make them a bum, makes them a journeyman. Yeah. And then you got to think about this too. These low-level fighters are very important in the sport of boxing, because you have your top fighters, you have your prospects that's coming out, and you need your prospects to be fighting somebody. The prospects have to fight somebody, and who are they going to fight? That journeyman that people call bums. But you have to respect them, because they getting in that ring and they giving it they all. While we sitting down eating a large pizza, we drinking pop, we had a fight party. These guys in the ring doing their thing. So I really think that we should keep that in mind to never call a fighter a bum. So I think that was easy, right? Well, that was easy for y'all, right? So never get emotionally attached to a fighter. Remember that. And it's hard too, because you watch a few fights and you fall in love with a fighter, and you so used to seeing them fight a certain way, like for years and years and years, it start to create stuff in your mind like, man, they can never lose. And when they lose, depending on how attached you are, it could be bad. And the second one was losing the O. We just want to be mindful that fighters are still great even when they lose. Fighters are still great even if they have losses. Undefeated doesn't mean that you're initially just unbeatable. You just haven't fought that person that got your number. And sometimes it goes out that way, you know. Everybody has a number. And the third one is no fighter is a bum. So let's practice the words journeyman, C-level fighter, B-level. Let's focus on those words because we want to give those fighters their respect. And we want to make sure, for one, that we also respecting the whole game of boxing, the whole sport of boxing as a whole. So I think we got that. It's pretty easy, right? It wasn't too hard. There's some commandments that you can follow. And, you know, with the rules and commandments and anything, sometimes they can be broken. So it's all good if, you know, you watching a fight and you're like, man, this guy's a bum. You know, it's okay. But just keep in mind and just reset yourself. Just a journeyman. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I want you to keep those 3 commandments in mind. Always respect fighters. Don't get emotionally attached. And losing that O, it is just fine losing that O. You can still love a fighter with losing that O. Keep those in mind. Keep boxing alive. And remember, keep it in the square circle. I'm CJ.
If you taking jabs in life, you ain't got a puncher's chance. Watch me lay these hands like a preacher gain a bunch of fans. Ain't about who the favorite, who the